If you've ever searched for a UE5 UI tutorial, you've probably seen something like this. Create a widget blueprint, add a canvas panel, drag in a button, hit compile. Congrats, you've now got a menu. Except you don't actually understand what you've just built. That's the problem that I find with most Unreal tutorials. They teach you what buttons to press, but never really explain why those buttons exist or what they do. So a week later, when you want to build something different, you'll end up back on YouTube looking for another tutorial, and you end up in this sort of tutorial hell. And I'll admit, when I first started, I was stuck deep in this tutorial hell, and I got nothing done because of it. This series is going to be a little different. I'm not here to teach you how to copy my UI or any of the systems that I make. I'm basically just going to teach you how the Unreal UI system actually works so that you can design your own UI and set that all up for yourself. And today we're just going to start in with the most basic question of all. What actually is UMG? Before we even create a widget, we need to understand something important. UI isn't just menus. It's everything the player sees that isn't part of the game world. So your health bar, ammo counter, crosshair, inventory, dialogue, pause menu, main menu, subtitles. They're all UI. And in Unreal Engine, almost all of these are built using UMG, which just stands for Unreal Motion Graphics. Despite the name, UMG isn't just for animated graphics. Think of it as Unreal's framework for building user interfaces. Just like actors are used to build gameplay, UMG is used to build interfaces. Now let's talk about the word you'll hear constantly in Unreal UI, widget. A widget is simply a piece of user interface. In the simplest, that's basically it. A button is a widget, a text label is a widget, an image is a widget, a progress bar is a widget, even an entire pause menu is a widget. Think about Lego. A single Lego brick isn't a house, but you can build a house out of a lot of little bricks. And widgets work in the same way. You combine lots of small widgets together to build bigger widgets. And eventually those become an entire interface. And once you understand that, Unreal UI suddenly starts to make a lot more sense. So, how does Unreal actually organize all of these widgets? And that's where we come into something called the widget tree. Each widget has its own widget tree, and it's basically just a hierarchy of all the widgets that are included within this widget. So imagine your pause menu. At the top of the tree is the menu itself. Inside it might be a background, a title, a vertical box, and inside that vertical box there'll be several buttons for the resume, settings, quit, and every widget can basically contain more widgets. And those widgets can contain even more widgets. And you end up with this hierarchy, which is the widget tree. It's very similar to how folders inside of folders work on your PC, or if you're coming from web development, it's very similar to the HTML DOM. So, why does knowing any of this actually matter? This might sound like theory, but it's actually one of the biggest reasons I usually see beginners struggling with creating UI in Unreal. People tend to think that they're just creating a menu, when in reality, they're creating lots of small different widgets that style together and work together to create the menu. And once you start thinking that way, I find that building interfaces becomes a lot easier. Instead of asking, how do I make an inventory? You start asking, what widgets make up an inventory? And those are two very different questions. And now that we know what UMG actually is, what widgets actually are, we can start looking at how Unreal arranges them and uses them. Because if you've watched enough tutorials like I have, you've probably noticed that a lot of people start by adding a canvas panel, which isn't necessarily wrong, but it's not the greatest practice. And in the next episode, we're going to go over a question that almost nobody explains, which is, what actually is a panel widget? If this video has helped something finally stick in your head with Unreal's UI, please let me know in the comments. And let me know what UI concepts you've always found confusing and stuff that you'd want me to cover within Unreal Engine. I'm Nadeem. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next episode.